All right. To the nearest unit, determine the distance between the 2 points of intersection. Between the line and the conic, there's my conic, there's the line, defined by the following equations. So essentially all this is saying is that we have a circle, or sorry, we have an ellipse, sorry, x squared over 25, y squared over 100. So we have an ellipse that would look something like that. I know it's centered around the origin because it's just x squared and y squared. That does make this quite a bit easier. I then also know that I have that line, so this straight line here, that would look something like that right there. Our objective is to find out roughly what are the points of intersection. So points of intersection, POI, it's kind of like systems of equation stuff last year. Do you remember that? Comparison method, elimination, and my substitution. So this is where substitution becomes so valuable to us. But my suggestion to you in this, if you want to avoid stupid mistakes, okay, I'm going to coach you to do a bit of a setup first because I'll show you right off the bat you can solve it by doing this. Negative 0.5 x minus 4 squared all over 100 is equal to 1. That's terrifying. Okay? It's what I want you to do because we're saying that they run into each other. So what am I doing? I'm going to substitute in this y value, that equation right there. Okay? I'm going to sub that in to the actual equation. So if y was equal to that, then I have this guy here. I advise against doing it this way because it's just prone to mistakes. And we're going to do that. We're just going to make it easier on ourselves. So step one is set up the conic. Okay? So what I mean by that is for this guy here, the whole, maybe I'll do it under here so I give myself more room. Number one, set up the conic. Graham is so animated. I wonder if like this mic picks it up. Anyway, set up the conic. X squared over 25 plus y squared over 100 is equal to 1. All right. There's a long way and then there's a short way to do this. We're basically trying to get rid of the denominators because they're ugly. I've kind of showed you how to rearrange to get it into this form, but to make it easier on us now, all I'm going to say is 25 goes there, 100 goes there, and the combination of both multiplied together will go there. So what does that look like? 100x squared plus 25y squared is equal to my 2500. This is now easier for me to work with because there's no denominators involved in it. Everything's up on the same level. Okay? The second thing that we are going to do is we are going to set up the line. And what I mean by that is I know that this is a line that runs into a conic. It's not saying just y, it's saying y squared. So if it's saying y squared, it's basically saying take what y is equal to, which is this guy right here, and square it. As in, let's FOIL this guy out. Right? We're going to FOIL it first before we jam it together so we don't have an ugly mess on our hands. So we would have a positive 0.25x squared. You're going to have a positive 2x, positive 2x, positive 16. So 0.25x squared plus 4x plus 16. Now, does this, because I did the work ahead of time, does this not look prettier? So step 3, we can finally substitute it in. So it would be 100x squared plus 25.25x squared plus 4x plus 16 is equal to 2500. It still looks hideously ugly, but now all I've got to do is multiply inside the brackets by 25. And what do I typically do when I have ugly equations that are mashed together? Monster mash. So we're going back to monster mash because it's going to be 25 times 0.25. So I'll have 100x squared plus 6.25x squared plus 100x plus.
So do you think the viewers know what the monster mash is?
I don't think the viewers know, but they're gonna know what the monster mash is right about now. So if I've substituted equation into another equation, I usually get something ugly like this monster right here. Whenever I get a monster, when we're dealing with quadratics, how do I know it's a quadratic? I see an x squared. I always want to get it to look like ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So when I say monster mash, you say set to 0, right? That's really all that it's asking you to do is let's combine all our like terms, okay? And then bring everything over to one side so that it is set to 0. So 106.25x squared plus 100x minus 2100 is equal to 0. Right? So now I have a clear A, B, and C. Because it's a quadratic, we will then just plug everything here into my quadratic equation. This is why the quadratic equation is so important, because we use it all the time. And because if we ever have a question where there's going to be two answers, we're going to need this. What the math behind why is it that an ellipse and a line together leads me back to the parabola crap from last year using the quadratic equation. It's because I'm looking for 2 points of intersection. What does the quadratic equation give me? It gives me 2 answers for x. And I want 2 answers for x because I need 2 answers for x. So I'll have you go through and solve that there. You're literally going to just like plug everything in, solve for the 2 values for x, and then the last step would be for you to then plug in the x. Please plug it back in to just like the linear function. You just have to do it twice because there's 2 x's. You'll get the 2 y's that go with it, and then you would have both points. So I'm not going to work out the full quadratic equation with this because it's just mind-numbing, and it's just something that should be automatic at this point. But this is the meat of this question that I really wanted to go over. The set up the conic, set up the line, mash them together so that I can get this ax squared plus bx plus c so that I can solve it using the quadratic equation. Capiche?